nothing wrong with it. Be the world's best dad and drink the shit out of that coffee. All right, before we begin, let's thank our great sponsors, and we've got some good sponsors. Now, remember, if you would like to be a part of the process, I would love to have a conversation with you. Sponsoring the BPX, the Bailey Podcast Exchange, just reach out to me via jasonbailey.com. Let's start. Inspect All Pest Services. Inspect All Pest Services, providing the highest quality termite, pest, and wildlife control. That's not all they do. Inspect All can take care of your insulation, your pressure washing, your gutter maintenance, and other home services there in the metro Atlanta and the surrounding areas. InspectAllServices.com. Also, thanks to Inspect All Pest Services for sponsoring all of our guests on the BPX. The Mad Dog, Manny Aurora with the Aurora Law Firm, theauroralawfirm.com. Best damn defense attorney in the land. He litigates all over the United States, based out of Georgia. Criminal defense, white-collar crime, DUI, drug offenses, appeals, and more. Theauroralawfirm.com. And if you have a legal question for the Mad Dog when he visits the BS, please go to jasonbailey.com and get that to me now. It's Ridgeline Counseling with Dr. David Markwell. If you need help, get help. He's got 10 therapists who work with him there at Ridgeline Counseling, 3 different locations in the state of Georgia, one across from Sprayberry High School in Sandy Plains, in East Cobb, Marietta right there near the square, and McKaysville outside of Blue Ridge. But if you're not in those areas and you still need help from the best in the business, that'd be Dr. David Markwell with Ridgeline Counseling. He does virtual sessions, which are extremely helpful, and you can set that appointment up at markwelltherapy.com. Alternate Power Solutions of Georgia, family owned and operated. They are a Generac generator dealer, offering sales, service, installation, and repair of automatic home standby and portable generators. And each and every one of you, 2 peers, when you become a customer, you get an upgraded warranty, free monitoring with a service contract, offering flexible financing, semi-annual and annual service contracts for existing installations and warranty repair. They have an A+ rating with the BBB, and you pay nothing until the job is complete, and you, the customer, are very, very happy. Call or request a free home assessment. You can go online, poweringgeorgia.com, or you can call 770-853-7571. Don't forget, use the discount code Bailey, and you get $500 off your entire installation. Servicing Georgia and Tennessee. MVP Walk-In Tub and Shower of Atlanta. Beautiful, affordable bathing solutions. MVP Walk-In Tub and Shower. They're a local family-owned and operated company committed to enhancing your bathroom experience in Metro Atlanta. They provide high-quality, safe, and affordable walk-in tubs and showers, focusing solely on installations that elevate your home's comfort and accessibility. They service all of Atlanta, Georgia. Like I said, family-owned and operated. No commission sales guys. There's no hassle when you deal with MVP Walk-In Tub and Shower of Atlanta. No high-pressure tactics. Go to their website and see the work that they're doing. Gen Xers, having them parents finally move in, and you're going to help them out, and you got to redo all that. Don't do it yourself. Go with the best in the business. These are the pros. MVPWalk-ins.com. Or you can call 404-493-6888. Mention the BPX, get $2,000 off. Again, mention the Bailey Podcast Exchange, BPX, or any of the shows, and you will receive $2,000 off from MVP Walk-In Tub and Shower of Atlanta. Alive Ozone Therapy Spa, Central Florida's first and only ozone therapy spa, administering ozone therapy or activated oxygen therapy non-invasively through what is called the Hocket sauna. Also offering red light therapy, halo therapy, pressotherapy, PEMF, as well as naturally in-house made ozone-infused products online, like that magnesium butter. AliveOzoneTherapySpa.com to book your appointment or to shop all of the products for Alive Ozone Therapy Spa, as well as the brand new Alive Ozone Therapy Spa app. If you are an Apple user, go into your app store and just search Alive Ozone Therapy Spa. If you're an Android user, search Alive Ozone Therapy Spa, order and book online. Again, if you are a business and you want the BPX, the Bailey Podcast Exchange, to help your brand, there's so much more than just advertising when it comes to this world. I'd like to have that conversation with you. Reach out to me, please, via jasonbailey.com, and let's chat. With that being said, let's begin.
Hey, good looking. It's the Bailey Show podcast. jasonbailey.com. It's a website.
There it is. Episode 434 of the Bailey Show podcast. It is a guy show women love to listen to with a side of laughs. All on the BPX. That is the Bailey Podcast Exchange. 3 different shows, 5 days a week. Since this is a freebie episode, you might have zero idea of what I'm talking about. But on this feed, like if you are on Spotify, which I hope you are, you get the video shows. There are 3 different shows, 5 days a week. Some of them are free. Some of them aren't. Mondays, Honey, I Raised the Kids. That's free. Wednesday, the BS. That's free. Friday's release show, the Vinyl Road podcast. That's free. But there's 2 other episodes, and there's thousands of hours of content that already exist. Hundreds of episodes of the BS that live in the Ethernet. Is that right? Ethernet?
In the interwebs.
Interwebs. Oh.
Yeah.
And you have to be a subscriber to get those. So if you don't mind, what I'd like for Christmas this year is for you to go to jasonbailey.com, hit the subscribe button, and then subscribe to the BS podcast. It's only $4.99 a month. It's no big deal. It's like 35 cents an episode, whatever. I mean, you're not being charged per episode, but that's where you can get all of the episodes. So like if you're on Spotify and you see that episode and it's got a little lock next to it and you're like, some bitch damn locked me out of this damn episode. Well, there's a reason for that. You know, only the subscribers can unlock the episodes.
Pay the $5.
It's not even $5. It's $4.99.
It's not quite there.
Yeah, it's $4.99. This is, by the way, this is what I do for a living, you know, so this is not a hobby. Some people do this as a hobby, which is cool, but this is actually what I do for a living. So if you could help with that process, I would highly appreciate it. All right. Thanks for being here. My name is Jason Bailey. Right there, that is the Bald Badger. Mr. Benjamin, how are you?
Hi, diddly ho, Bailey.
Yeah, I meant to give you an applause. There you go.
I'm used to a buzzer, so, you know, anything better than that's good.
No buzzing. Oh, my God. It has been a minute, but I have got to start out the show by telling everybody how happy I am. I woke up this morning and I checked my email and I got an email notification that said that I had just received 2 orders for the My Court Caddy. 2 orders for the My Court Caddy. It has been a minute since I've sold a My Court Caddy. I just have
What is
not.
a My Court Caddy there, Bailey?
My Court Caddy?
What is English?
Do you know that I own it? I invented it, right?
Yes, I do know that now.
Oh, like right now or
no? Like recently, I learned this information. I was doing some investigation of the My Court Caddy, but I'm sure a lot of our listeners don't have a clue what that is.
So I'd always, even as a little kid, I'd always wanted to invent something, you know, like something tangible. I just thought the idea of inventing something, whether you get rich or not, it's not the point. The point was I wanted to create something from my brain and have it come to fruition and have people, you know, use it. I mean, that's
your cocktail moment.
Yeah, right. Exactly. My cocktail moment.
Yeah.
So I, you know, I play tennis. I'm a tennis player, not anywhere near as much as I did when I lived in Atlanta. I was playing 4 times a week. So I was very, you know, hosting the Atlanta ATP, hosting the New York Open and all that stuff. So during COVID, and now keep in mind too, when I started playing tennis as a kid, I grew up in a very nice neighborhood playing tennis. The idea of tennis was a gentleman's sport. There were rules, whether they're written or not. They're just, you don't walk on the court when somebody's there. You pick up the ball. It's a gentleman's game, so on and so forth. Etiquette. Yeah. Etiquette. There's tennis etiquette. Thank you. So I'm playing tennis in Atlanta and, at a place, in Marietta, Georgia. Great people, great tennis, good dudes, miss them to death, miss them dearly. And this was during COVID. Everybody was terrified the first, months of COVID. You see people out there wearing plastic gloves and things on their face and all kinds of crazy stuff. No one could have their bags next to each other, so on and so forth. So the first idea that came into my mind, when you play tennis, you usually have 3 balls on the court, right? I mean, just for amateurs, you have 3 balls on the court. I would play a lot of singles. So I would have, if I'm serving, 2 balls in my pocket, then that 3rd ball would just kind of be roaming somewhere. You could fall on it. I've seen people bust their ankle on it. I don't like it up at the net because of my line of sight. When I'm serving, I don't want to see the ball. Plus, it could get kicked out on the court, and it's just a pain in the ass. So most of the time, people put the ball in the back of the court and just leave it there. Yes, I do know that on the net where the trash cans are when you're coming off, there's a caddy-esque thing attached to the net. I'm aware of that. But nobody uses that while they're in play. Like, you're not going to go to that caddy and you're not going to go and get your towel. You're not going to go and get your tennis ball or something. So the first idea for the My Court Caddy was, what if I could create something that could hang without destroying the chain link fence? Because most, if not all, tennis courts have a chain link fence around them. And you could put the ball there, make it nice and neat. That was my first thought. Then COVID hits. And we're going out to play doubles one day. And I look at the court next to us, and there are these 4 older women that played together every Sunday that we went out there, right? And they were taking their big tennis bags. They were using a third-party carabiner, and they were hanging them on the fence. And it drove me insane because that is not tennis etiquette. That is bad, 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 bad. Plus, you're destroying the fence, and it looks like crap. I mean,
it's too heavy. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's heavy.
Like a sag on the fence.
Yeah, you're going to pull down the fence, sure, but it's just not what you do. It's not what tennis people do. You don't hang your bags on the fence. You can hang your towel on the fence. That's fine. We don't hang your bag all over the fence. Look like a flea market. Maybe that's just me, so it may being caddy. It just drove me insane, right? So there was this guy that I was acquaintances with. He was my original business partner. Very smart guy, really smart guy, extremely successful guy. And he had a 3D printer. And he was the only person that I knew that had invented something. And it was a very similar idea when the Peloton, especially during COVID, Pelotons were real hot, right? Everybody wanted a Peloton. The Pelotons didn't come with a tray. So when you had the monitor, but if you didn't want to watch the monitor and you wanted to watch your phone or an iPad, it didn't have anything that you could rest it on there. So my original business partner for the My Court Caddy invented something like that, and he sold it. And I don't know how successful he was with it, but I thought that was cool.
My Peloton Caddy.
My Peloton Caddy. When you invent something, the biggest hurdle is starting. Like, where do I start? I mean, you'll see these commercials like, you have an invention, call us. Don't do that. Figure it out on your own so you can control the IP and all the different things. Anyway, so I go to him and I say, hey, here's my idea. I want to create this tray, this caddy thing that I want to hang on the fence, but I don't want to destroy the fence. I want it to be able to hold like 2 balls. I wanted to have some hooks, and all kinds of different things. And he's like, oh, that's kind of a neat idea. So this dude goes and draws it up, sketches it up, and then creates it in 3 different pieces on his 3D printer. And now I have a tangible item. I'm like, wow, this is so cool, right? So we go into business together, and this was very close. Excuse me, I got sniffles. This is very close to July in Atlanta. So I was hosting the Atlanta 250. So I go to the tournament director, Eddie Gonzalez, and I say, hey, would you mind if I put these out on the courts? Just to test them, to see, if they work, for the pros that are hitting. And the Atlanta 250 had 2 different courts. You had your main court, and then you had a side court with games going on constantly on both courts for the tournament. So he's like, yeah, sure. Let's put them on there. So what we learned, July in Atlanta, real hot, is the plastic that we were using and the towels that the guys were using. They weren't using small towels like I would use. I didn't even think about this. They're using bath towels, right? They're just draping them over, and the damn thing melted. And by the end of the day, it was literally bent. With the heat of the towel and the sweat and the sun, and the courts are even hotter, because of the courts. So I'm like, all right, back to the drawing board. So we go back. Oh, actually, I think by that time my partner and I had kind of dissolved our relationship because my business idea, which maybe wasn't right, but that's the way I want it to go, was that, hey, look, because we were also selling them at the tennis tournament, and we were at that time making them per order. So if somebody would order them, I would have to go to him. He's got another life, another job. And it wasn't as fast as I wanted it to happen. So I'm like, I just want to order a bunch of them. He didn't want to do that because he didn't want to fork out the money.
Right.
I totally understand. And I said, well, look, this is the direction I want to take. The My Court Caddy will dissolve the relationship, so on and so forth. So we had an attorney, and it was very cordial, it was amicable, and we went our separate ways. And so then I had to learn how to not only develop the My Court Caddy to the next phase, but also how to mass produce it. Little known fact, Chicago is like the capital factory of the world, right? Who knew? ABS plastic. That's a thing. That's what a lot of things are made out of. It's called ABS.
Factory capital, right?
What's that?
You mean factory capital?
Yeah. Like there's like a ton of plastic factories in Chicago.
You said capital factory. I didn't know if they made capitals there.
They're it's dyslexic. They're dyslexic. Yeah, dyslexic. So I get a hold of this company. They make a mold, which they still have. And I was able to put a little stamp in the mold that says My Court Caddy, and we redeveloped it a little bit. So there's a backing to it. So now when you put it on the chain link fence, and you might go, well, Bailey, isn't that the same thing as what you were bitching about before with the carabiner? No, because there's 2 slots in the back, plastic slots that you will put in the chain link fence. And then there's like kind of a plate in between them. So it's safe for the fence. So as gravity takes its course,
it redistributes the weight.
Exactly. Yes. It redistributes the weight. Nicely done. So I get it all done. I have to make an order, place an order. I place an order and I pay a significant amount of money for this order, especially for shipping, again, during COVID times. I get the website developed, mycourtcaddy.com. I got all my IP. I own it. And I get a knock at the door one day, and I go outside, and I've got pallets of My Court Caddys in my driveway. Then I get fired in Atlanta. I start podcasting. California happens. Life is happening very, very fast. I'm not spending the time that I should be spending with the My Court Caddy that I need to. It's funny because one of the last interviews that I had when I was on the air in Atlanta was with Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank.
Yeah.
And I had pitched him the idea of the My Court.
Kevin something or other.
Kevin O'Leary. Yeah. And I had pitched him the idea for the My Court Caddy. And he's like, yeah, don't quit your day job. I was like, son of a bitch. I was like, all I needed was that audio clip of him saying, that's a brilliant idea. That's all I needed. But he couldn't do it. So anyway, fast forward over the years, occasionally I'll get an order. And it's always like at the oddest times. So when I was, when we first moved to California, now I guess it's been 2 years almost, like as we were moving across the country and trying to get settled, I started to get orders for the My Court Caddy, like numerous orders. I'm going, you have got to be freaking kidding me. So I was smart when we packed up our stuff. I'd put a box aside with the product. Cause like when I sent it out, I've got all this merch that the idea was to do these different events, but that's not happening. So I just throw it in there. Like I've slashed the prices on these things. I think they're like $10 a piece now. And then I'll put like a t-shirt in there. I'll put like a magnet. I'll put some dampeners, and what I put in the box for a tennis player is more like 20 times more than what you're spending, because I'm trying to get all this stuff out. I'm trying to liquidate it, right? Because I just don't have time to market it. It could be like one of these ideas that somebody takes and, does something with it. I've seen people like put, Trulies or White Claws in there instead of tennis balls. Fits perfect. I've seen guys buy them for their kid playing baseball because they always misplace their baseball glove. So they'll put it on the thing and they'll hang their glove on it because it's got the hooks.
Yeah, you could have like a My Diamond caddy too. You could do all kinds of stuff.
All kind. Well, so me and my brain, I'm going, well, the next phase of this is obviously where you can plug in your cell phone, so I'm going to, you can charge the My Court Caddy and then you can put your cell phone up there. And I was like, well, the next phase is, probably want to be able to play music. We got to put some Bluetooth speakers in there. The next phase is it'll, have Alexa involved in it. And you can just talk to it and ask it stuff. And so, hold on.
Yeah.
Sneezing.
Exercise the demons.
Exercise the demons. So that's the whole story behind the My Court Caddy. It has not been a successful business by no stretch of the imagination. I can tell you a live ozone therapy spa has done a lot better for me in the past year than the My Court Caddy has in the past 3 or 4 years, but it's a cool invention and it's mine. And it's mine. So
you're allergic to talking about it.
I'm allergic to talking about it. So that's the story behind it. So I was very excited when I saw, and and now that pickleball has become a thing, it's actually more for pickleball players, to be honest with you, because you spend more time on that side of the court. So if it's like just your court, My Court Caddy, you don't have one on each side, which the hopes was that facilities would buy these and put them on all their courts. So if you're like, just have your own My Court Caddy and you put it on your side, you just take it off, put it back on, take it off, put it back on. But in pickleball, you're on that side longer than anything else. You know what I mean? So, but I was very excited. I mean, cha-ching, $20 in my pocket, but that means 2 more My Court Caddies get out of my shed, my work shed. So
you were talking about tennis etiquette earlier, and it reminded me of a story when I was younger. Obviously, Andre Agassi was the first like cool tennis player.
Hips nips, man. Yeah.
Yeah, he was rad. And he dressed in like neon and he had the Japanese sun on the back of his shoe and stuff. It was super cool. But Wimbledon, their rule was you had to wear all white.
Yeah.
Do you know this story?
With Agassi?
With Agassi, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead. But yeah.
So they said you got to wear all white. And he was like, but I don't. I have a brand and I need to wear my brand. And they said, no, you can't play unless you wear all white. But he was so popular that they bent their rules. They said, fine, you can wear your colors. And he showed up in all white.
He showed up in all white. Yeah. I think the argument more or less was that it wasn't so much the shirt, but it was, he wore those they look like jean shorts. He played in what looked like jean shorts. So that I think was the argument, that and the shoes.
Yeah, the shoes were huge. Yeah.
Yeah, the shoes, that orange and black or the pink and orange black thing. Yeah.
Like tennis ball yellow, and then they had like the tangerine color. But they had Nike do the exact same emblem in an all white. It was just embossed.
Yeah. So fast forward to today's world. There's a player he doesn't play much anymore at all, unfortunately, because he was, in my opinion, one of the best things that has ever gotten into tennis, and that's Nick Kyrgios. Nick Kyrgios is an Australian, and he is the bad boy of tennis. I mean, he would break the rules, not cheat, but he just wouldn't take shit from anybody. And he was very misunderstood from the fans, because tennis fans mostly are purist. I've met Nick Kyrgios numerous times. I've interviewed Nick Kyrgios numerous times. Nick Kyrgios is a great human being. He is a great dude. I've watched this guy, with all of his fortune and fame, walk from the hotel down to the little area where all the fans are, just as a fan, and shoot some hoops because he loves basketball, and then be taken away from whatever he's doing because somebody would go up to him and say, hey, there's somebody from the children's hospital and they would love to meet you. He wouldn't hesitate. And I've seen this happen numerous times. He would stop what he's doing and sprint over to see those people. That's what these haters don't ever see, that part of Nick Kyrgios. Outside of that, as a tennis player, he's awesome. I think the highest he got, like at the U.S. Open or Wimbledon, was the semifinals or something. But his run at Wimbledon, it was Wimbledon. His big run at Wimbledon, he broke the rules and he wore a red Nike Jordan hat backwards. And so that was like everybody's in white and he's got this red hat on. And I think he might have just worn it for the post-game interview. So when he came to Atlanta for the Atlanta 250, he wins his match and he's out on the court and I'm interviewing him and he's got that hat on. And it was probably one of the coolest questions I'd ever asked a tennis player, because I was just like, hey, Nick, finishing this up here. Is that the same hat you got some heat from for Wimbledon? He goes, maybe. I said, how much to part with that hat? He goes, what hat? You know, it was just like a really cool back and forth moment, because that hat, that red Nike Jordan hat at the time, at least in the tennis world, had created such a stir for no stupid reason, you know, but it was cool. He's a good dude, but yeah. So that's part of the etiquette though. You know, that's what I mean. The game has changed and the styles changed and the play has changed and the tempers have changed and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, there's still, you have to have a basis for things like this world. We love to get rid of tradition in the sake of evolving. Like, I think everybody needs to take a class on the difference between evolving and tradition. They can be one and the same. Just because you evolve doesn't mean you have to forget tradition. And that is a younger generation thing. It's like, just do away with the Constitution. It's old. It was written and done so many years ago. You know, do you want to get rid of, let's say, the First Amendment, you know, because that's old. That's freedom of speech. No, you can keep that one, but it needs to change and it needs to evolve. Okay, so it just needs to evolve how to fit whatever it is that you're bitching and complaining about all the time. You keep tradition. You know, just about any and every tradition, there's going to be a dark side to it. There's no doubt about it. I think people look at, you know, the statues during the Civil War and the slavery times. That was one of the, if not the worst time ever, as far as, you know, history goes, knowing that took place. But if you're not reminded of that, then you can't learn from that in order to not do that again. Right? You know what I mean? So like every person, you could probably take any and every person in history and find a dark moment in their life. Anybody, right? You could. Yep. And are you going to live there? Are you going to live where the things that they did wrong or the things that they did right? You know, it's weird how society chooses what they're going to lay their hat on. Is it going to be all the good things that they did, or is it going to be the one or two bad things that they did? You know, and then I guess you have to judge on what tier the bad things that they did were. You know, it's fascinating to me, you know, as a mind deaf guy, is to kind of watch that and how those things play out. It's interesting when people, you know, do that, right? They forget all the good things. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I don't understand it. You know, they always say in radio, you're only as good as your last show. And that's true. That is extremely true. But I don't know if in life you're only as good as the last good thing that you did. Maybe you are. I have no idea.
What if some of these amazing people in history had like these just stupid little quirks that we never heard about? And then suddenly somebody was like, but did you know they did this? Would that change your opinion of these people?
For the younger generation, I think so, because there's, you know, all these protesty kids that are out there. They have a mindset of, don't judge me, let me judge you. Right.
Yeah.
They don't, because they're far from perfect. Right.
Yeah, I'm above it, but you're not.
Right. And most of them are very far from being educated on even what they're out there protesting. So they come up with all these rules and these things that they want to happen, and they base it off of one thing, but they're never able to, you know, debate it or have a conversation about it. It's just, this is what I've been told. And what fascinates me is I want to know how they got there. You know, I want to know how they got there. I think I have, I don't know. It's just weird. I get these weird intuition things. I think over the next 5-ish years, I I I I can see, you know, it's never going to be 50-50 and perfect, but I can see people I just feel like something's going to happen or something, whether it's a one event or just events that are going to happen that are going to bring people together. Uh, and when I say bring them together, making the conversation a lot more easier to do. You know, I saw a video of two different governors, one in Oklahoma and one in Delaware, and I forget their names. They were doing a TED talk, and it was the Republican governor from Oklahoma started out, and he says, "I'm sure many of you in this room hate me because I'm a Republican." And he goes on and talks and talks and talks, and then he introduces his buddy, who's the Democrat governor of Delaware. And they talk about how they're friends and how they travel together and how they just went across to another country and got education. Oh, Sweden, and learned all these things that they wanted to bring back. And they're like pals, like they know each other's wives and kids and stuff like this. And their whole run is to pretty much tell you that stop judging people by what they believe in. You know, because if you think about this, like if you take, and I'd bet money on this. If you were to take just one person, one random person, and the only thing that you know about that person is they have opposite political views than you. You take that one person, you most likely are going to hate them just based off of that. But what you don't know is the 30 other things that they have in common with you. That's the crazy thing, right? Is that they have all these things in common, but you don't care about it. It's only because they believe in a certain political party. That's nuts. That's absolutely bonkers. That goes back to my theory before of saying, you know, how are you judging people? Do you judge them by their last good deed or their last bad deed? You know, it's pick and choose for people. How you want to remember individuals. You know, do you burn the house down because they supposedly said something back in the day? You know, then you go do your digging and going, oh, that guy was a racist. I know he was a racist because he bought this at the store and then said this on the tape and then went to the person and then did this and then wore the shirt. Wow. Okay. You know a lot about that person. That's pretty crazy. You know what I mean?
A shirt.
It was the shirt. It's like Bill Cosby. And there's a shirt that made you go racist. I putting pops on the shirt that made everything racist. So have you seen the Eddie Murphy doc on Netflix?
No, I have not.
Oh my God.
I don't have Netflix.
That's right. His Bill Cosby is ridiculous, dude.
Oh, I used to love watching him do Bill Cosby, like on Delirious. He did a Bill Cosby thing.
Yeah, he does the joke. He's like, so I get a call from Bill Cosby. Eddie Murphy, this is the Bill Cosby. I want to watching your show, and I just don't like a lot of the language that you use.
Filth, Florin, filth, Florin, filth.
Filth the front, the filth the front, the filth the front. Dude, it's not if you haven't seen it yet, it's really, really good. I'm almost through it, but it's the Eddie Murphy documentary on Netflix, and it tells the story of Eddie Murphy. And you know, Eddie Murphy was a generational comic, slash actor, slash creator. And, you know, when it tells the story of when he was a kid, like if you're a Gen Xer, your favorite comedian is Eddie Murphy. I mean, without a doubt. I mean, like he ran the 80s.
Yeah.
He ran the 80s. There's no doubt about it. 90s things change, but he ran the 80s. So it goes back to when he was a kid. And he came from a decent family, right? His mom, then his stepdad who raised him. He had great brothers, of course, Charlie Murphy, who passed away some years ago. The Chappelle, they have Chappelle in the documentary too. They have all the big names in there, but the Rick James thing, you know, on Chappelle's show and Charlie Murphy and stuff. Eddie Murphy talks about it and he goes, I watched it. It was very funny. I thought it was hilarious. He goes, but that was literally just another night in my life. He's like, what you guys saw and gravitated towards and talk about time and time again, Rick James, bitch, you know, and all that stuff. He's like, That literally was just one night of my life.
We not to put myself on the Eddie Murphy platform, but like when we were on the road, we talked about that all the time. Like we'd be out playing, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and every night was like Groundhog Day. But to the fans that got to come hang out with us, that was a story. That was an event for them.
Yeah.
But to us, it was just a Tuesday, man.
Yeah.
Because we did the same thing the night before and the night after.
Yeah. Over and over again. So as a kid, Eddie Murphy, he knew what he wanted to do and be. He wanted to be famous. That's what he wanted. That's what he said. He goes, I knew it wasn't a matter of if and when if it was a matter of when, because I knew I was going to be famous. So, he gets the gig at Saturday Night Live. I mean, he's young, like real young.
19.
Yeah, really, really young. And they were looking for a black guy. That was funny. I mean, that was pretty much the prereq. Black guy, funny. And it tells the story of how he gets the audition and how he goes in and all that stuff. But, and then, he gets the opportunity to go do movies, and it was 48 hours, I think, was first, right?
I think so.
Yeah. 48 hours was first. And it's interesting when they, these documentaries like this, these are things that we don't think about, but they break down the importance of the work. And you go back to the early 80s when 48 Hours came out, and you watch that movie, Nick Nolte, you would think is the star because like it was very black and white, no pun intended, but it was very black and white in those days when it's moved. Like this was the star, this was the co-star. Mm-hmm. Black guy, you're not the star, right? In a cop movie, not happening. It was very racial, stuff going on, right? But that's just what the production companies thought that Americans, how they would perceive it, right? Those kinds of things. I mean, it still exists today. Yeah. And that's for any race. And I mean, it's actually flip-flopping now. I mean, it's now you have different races that would get, the lead or the problem because of perception of like, well, you can't put the white guy in there because people are going to think it's too white. Right. And I mean, it's all over the place now. Everything is all messed up. We've screwed it all up. Right. Like, it's very simple. Best guy gets the job. Best guy goes out there and puts on the best performance. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But no one should be hired based off of their skin color. That DEI stuff is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of in my entire life of America. Absolutely the dumbest idea. Whoever came up with that idea should be hit in the face with a salami. I mean, just absolutely stupid. Anyway, side note. So he talks about, getting 48 hours and how it was like really a split, but Eddie he steals the show, and he does. But Nick Nolte is such a great compliment to Eddie Murphy. And he praised Nick Nolte's, working with him and all that stuff.
Our introduction to Eddie Murphy in film was such a dichotomy to begin with. There's a black guy in jail, right, singing The Police.
Right, exactly.
It's like, hang on, we have no idea what to do with this character immediately because he's singing the wrong song.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I love that.
And they talk about that opening scene. Roxanne, you know how to
brilliant.
Yeah, everything about it was so strategic, and then he gets offered the job of Beverly Hills Cop, which he was not. What?
It was supposed to be Sly Stallone.
Right, exactly. He was not supposed to get that job. And because of the guys behind the scenes like Landis and the other director, Jerry Bruckheimer, and all these guys, these powerful guys now, they were kind of starting their career, but they knew what Eddie had. And so they get Eddie to bring him in. That was just unheard of. No way you're going to have a single black guy as a cop that's going to be funny, but also be serious with like zero acting background. Do this movie. You want us to invest in this movie? Okay. They get it pushed through, and it broke all kinds of records, all kinds of, not only records, but barriers, as far as who should be what. Like Eddie Murphy, you want to look at, African Americans in the entertainment business that shattered walls to open it up for other people, Eddie Murphy's that guy. Without a doubt. Eddie Murphy's that guy. And Eddie Murphy credits Richard Pryor, right?
Yep.
So
who credits Red Fox.
So they talk about Harlem Nights, which Eddie Murphy directed. One of my all-time favorite movies, by the way. If you've never seen Harlem Nights, you have a collection of the most brilliant comedic minds.
You shot my brother
in one movie. It is such an underrated movie. It's ridiculous. But they talk about, like, Arsenio Hall, who's very close with Eddie Murphy. They talk about little things that Eddie would put into the movie that most people wouldn't see. Like, for example, when Eddie Murphy shoots Arsenio Hall and he kills him, right? They have the shootout, and Arsenio Hall dies, and then he pops back up. He comes back to life, and he goes, "Asshole," and then he dies again. The original part was him just to die, but Eddie Murphy goes, "It'd be funny." Red Fox, when that scene when they're in the little casino area and he has to look up with his glasses. He wasn't looking up at the time. He was just looking forward. And Eddie Murphy's like, "Look up. It's funnier." Like, these little things that just show that you're a genius. Those little nuances that us as the consumer wouldn't realize one way or the other, but the way that they do it, we kind of gravitate towards because that's the better way to do it. But we didn't know that's the better way to do it. They're the only ones that knew that there's a better way to do it because it's not just freaking brilliant. That kind of thing. It's absolutely amazing.
You almost sound like Bill Cosby again for a second there.
But so Eddie Murphy, then he talks about, getting this fame and this fortune. He never got into drugs. Never. He talked about how, like his friends like Rick James, and he had to buy their funeral plots. Like, they had no money when they died. And he's like, it blew my mind. There was somebody else that he talked about too, where, Buckwheat from the Little Rascals didn't have a headstone. So Eddie Murphy bought him a headstone. He's like, these guys are they're huge in the entertainment world. They die with no money. Like, how is that even possible? So he's paid for all these different funerals for his different people in the industry, friends and whatnot. He says, but he goes, I can't self-destruct. And he goes, I think the reason why I've never self-destructed, unlike these other people, is because I like myself too much. That's a great answer. Like, and it wasn't arrogant, but I would say there's nothing wrong with being arrogant. Like, there's nothing wrong with having an arrogance about you. Like, you should have an arrogance about your country. You always hear people. I used to get in an argument with a guy that used to be on the show all the time. I'd say, the United States of America is the best country in the world. And he would get all pissy. He's like one of those lefty kind of guys. And he's like, it's not, education and this and this. I'm like, no, you're missing what I'm saying. Like, I understand statistically, like, if you want to have that kind of debate, that's a different type of debate. I'm talking as a fan of the country I live in, the house that I live in. To me, it's the best. Just like Jets fans or Dolphins fans will say they had the best team. I love my Miami Dolphins. They're the best team in the world. You get an 8-year-old kid, I love Miami Dolphins. I love Miami Dolphins. They're the best team in the world. I love Miami. No, they're not. They're the farthest from it.
They are.
Statistically. But you have so much pride in your team that you wave that flag. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with going around and saying, I live in the best country in the world. There's nothing wrong with going around saying, I had the best wife in the world. Think about this. You have kids. Every Father's Day, I'm talking to guys, I guess. Every Father's Day, you get a mug. What does it say? Number 1 dad.
World's best.
World's best dad. You are the best dad in the world according to your kid. Now, do you want somebody to debate that? Do you want somebody to come over and go, you arrogant son of a bitch?
Let's talk statistics, Bailey.
Where do you get off thinking that you're the world's best dad? I just heard you the other day say that you live in the best country in the world. And now you're saying you're the world's best dad? You arrogant, smug son of a bitch. Who do you think you are? There's nothing wrong with liking you. Have a little arrogance about yourself. Take pride in you and what's around you. Don't let anybody tell you different. There's nothing wrong with it. Be the world's best dad and drink the shit out of that coffee. You know what I mean? There's just nothing wrong with it. Eddie Murphy said that. Eddie Murphy was like, I just like myself too much to self-destruct. And I think you have to have a little arrogance in there to do that, right?
I think women was his only vice, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, his big mix-up in the media was the trans thing, right? Didn't he pick up a trans hooker or something? I don't remember them getting to that.
I think they all did at one point or another. It was L.A. in the 80s. It was, it was a time.
That's what we did, man.
Yeah.
Picked up a trans with a Trans Am, and that's just what we did.
Look up Adam's apple, son of a bitch.
Well, he talks about getting out of stand-up comedy. He's like, I love stand-up comedy. This is, kind of where I started. This is what I do. And then once it's in your blood, it's in your blood. He said it just got to a point where it was too much, where the industry had changed. I'm going to put words in his mouth, but I forget the exact reason. I could understand it, from my line of, I totally get where he was coming from. And then he just didn't want, he just wanted a break. He didn't like the criticisms, and he didn't like any of that stuff.
Yeah.
He's like, I just want a break.
I feel like it was after Norbit.
Well, so the Saturday Night Live shot from David Spade really pissed him off.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And,
I forgot about that.
Yeah. So if you're not familiar with it, whatever movie, maybe it was Norbit. It was one of Eddie Murphy's not so successful movies. It was the cast, with David Spade at the time and Chris Farley. David Spade was doing like the Weekend Update or something there. And they showed a picture of Eddie Murphy, and David Spade goes, "Look, kids, it's a falling star." And so Eddie Murphy wasn't mad at David Spade, but he was mad at Saturday Night Live. Mm. He talks about, he's like, I was taken back from it. He goes, why would you do that? He's like, that's like your alma mater not liking you anymore for no reason whatsoever. Like, I never did anything to Saturday Night Live. I never talked bad about Saturday Night Live. I just went on with my career from Saturday Night Live. But why all these years later would you do that? Because he goes, let me explain this to you. David Spade didn't come up with this joke and just do it without anyone noticing. That has to run through people. That joke has to be cleared. So that means that whoever is at the top of the food chain that represents Saturday Night Live was okay with them taking the shot at me. That's not cool. So he was like, that's why I distanced myself from Saturday Night Live for all these years. And I was pissed. He goes, but he explains it, and rightfully so. So then he kind of goes into this hiatus, right? Remember, Eddie Murphy, we hadn't seen or heard from him in years. And then Netflix, boom, Coming to America 2, boom. But during those years, and he talks about this on this Eddie Murphy documentary, he's like, I wanted a family. I always wanted a family. I wanted something bigger than money and a career. I wanted true unconditional love. And he's like, there's nothing more important in this world than my family. And it shows his family. He's got great kids, beautiful
wife.
Lots of them. Yeah, lots of kids, beautiful wife. And they all seem like they get along. Like there's no issues. Everybody seems like they got their act together. And I'm like, good for you, Eddie Murphy. Like,
didn't he have like a Spice Kid? Didn't he have one with Mel B or something?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. He might have. I don't know.
Married, I think.
I looked around at the kids at the table. I don't know. Like his wife is white. So I don't know if all those kids came.
Wait, what?
Yeah, his wife is white.
He married a Nolte?
He married a Nolte. Yeah, absolutely. His wife is gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful. Beautiful woman. Huge house. I mean, the whole shebang. You just got it. You look at these people and you're just like, what's that like? What's that like to get up knowing that you really don't have to do anything and everything's just taken care of? For those of us that don't have that, unless we were the lucky Mega Millions winner from Noonan, Georgia, we would say we want to at least experience that. But you get people that experience that, and all they do is bitch about it. Jim Carrey has a quote that says, I think that everyone should have the opportunity to be rich and famous so they can realize that that's not what it's cracked up to be, or something to that effect. I'm like, okay, I'm in. I'll allow you to do it. I'm good. I would like to not every month have to worry about where I'm pulling money to pay this. I got a $7,500 property tax bill. That's what I need right before Christmas. You know what I mean? That'd be nice just to no big deal. Just put it on the card. Put it. Here you go. You want cash? Give me cash. Those types of things.
However, there is the other side of that coin where some of these cats, they don't get to leave their house anymore. They have no privacy. They have nothing that's just theirs. They don't get to enjoy life because of the life that they're supposed to be enjoying.
Ben, the Eddie Murphy documentary, if you saw his house, there's no need to leave it. He's got a bowling
live in Neverland.
He's got a bowling alley in his house. When you have everything that you would do outside of your house in your house, there's no need to leave your house. I don't like to leave my house, and I don't have Eddie Murphy's house. I'm okay with not leaving my house if I have Eddie Murphy's house.
There's that. I didn't take that into consideration.
You not taking a shot, but you live in a tiny house. I can understand where you're coming from. You might want a little bit of a bigger house to have a bowling alley someday. If you get that, then you probably don't want to leave your tiny house with a bowling alley.
Possible.
Yeah. So anyway, watch the documentary. It's really good, especially if you grew up with Eddie Murphy. It's good. They got Kevin Hart's in there, and
I love Eddie Murphy.
Oh, he's the best.
Can you think of his most underrated film just off the cuff?
Yeah, I think Harlem Nights is, in my opinion.
Harlem Nights, I think, gets a good amount of credit. It doesn't get as much credit in the grand scheme of movie stuff as it should.
Yeah.
But like in the Eddie Murphy world, I think Harlem Nights is definitely on a pedestal.
Bowfinger's great.
My God, that's brilliance.
Steve Martin. Oh, great. Heather Graham. Yeah.
Yep. Doesn't get any love ever.
Well, Boomerang. Boomerang's a great movie,
Yeah.
And so Boomerang is where Chris Rock got his, movie start, right? Or no, Chris Rock might have got his movie start in Don't Get Me Sucker, whatever that movie was. A great, hilarious movie. Just pour it into my cup and put it in the dime. Pour it in the cup and the dime. But Chris Rock developed a relationship with Eddie Murphy. Chris Rock talks about how he developed that relationship. But all these like big comedians like Chappelle and Hart and Chris Rock are on this documentary, and they talk about watching Eddie Murphy growing up, and their Bible was Delirious and Raw.
Mm-hmm.
Going like Chappelle's like, this motherfucker is wearing a leather suit. Like that's just in itself crazy. Like that
purple.
Crazy. Well, Raw was purple. Delirious
was red.
Yeah, Delirious was red. He's like, man, that's just crazy. It's like, but the way that Chappelle, and Chappelle will go down as one of the greatest. Like Chappelle to me is a mental comic where his storytelling, he's not a punchline guy. He's just so poetic with his.
Oh my God. I mean, you just get lost in the tale he's weaving.
I think he's great. Not that I agree with everything that he has to say, but the way that he delivers and everything about him, but the way that he tells the story, and I know it's kind of coming back. Smoking cigarettes is kind of cool again, right? Chappelle smokes cigarettes. He's smoking cigarettes throughout this documentary. You just see he's just sitting in the chair, not dressed up for it. Like he's wearing sweats or something. And you just see cigarette smoke coming from his right hand. Something about the whole thing is cool, just real cool. And he's talking about Eddie Murphy. He's like, man, motherfucker wore a red leather suit. That's just crazy. Just sitting there as a kid watching that and just like, shit, man, that's funny.
One of my favorite moments of Delirious is actually Charlie Murphy. He's got a moment in that.
Oh, I didn't know. I don't remember that.
If you watch it again, some woman yells something. She heckles, and you hear, "Shut up, bitch!" And Eddie Murphy drops the mic and turns around and he laughs his ass off because Charlie was just totally gatekeeping.
That's
From
funny.
from off stage, you hear, "Shut up, bitch."
Well, Charlie Murphy was hired. So Charlie Murphy served in the military.
Yep.
And then when Charlie Murphy got out of the military, like Eddie Murphy loved Charlie. Loved it. Their relationship was so special and so cool. And you would think that there would be like this, sibling rivalry and all that kind of stuff. It was nothing like that. So when Charlie got out of the military, Eddie's career had already started to take off. So Eddie hires him as the head of security.
Mhm.
When they were kids, Charlie's the older brother. Charlie would beat people up to protect Eddie. And then it got to a point where Eddie started to realize what he wanted to do as a comedian. And Charlie became so protective that if people weren't laughing, he started to beat them up.
Yeah.
I was like, I love this, man. Everything about this story is so phenomenal. Like, I wish my brother were like that. I mean, shit, I wish anybody in my family were like that. But they're not, and it'll never be like that. So just to hear, when you see these celebrities and their stories of success and failure and stuff like that, we always gravitate, and I've talked about this numerous times, and it drives me insane, cuckoo cuckoo, that we gravitate towards the failure of people that have had success. I have no idea why in this country we love to watch people fail. No idea why. No idea why. We can't gravitate towards someone that has a success, done for the most part all the right things, and then you can't take a step back out of your own bubble and realize that there's a million things you have no idea about that are good that these people have done. Like Kevin Hart, for example. I know for a fact Kevin Hart has helped out comedians that you have no idea who they are, just writing them checks just so they can keep the power on. Because I know one of those comedians. He's literally written a significant amount of money and said, "Hey, brother, I hope things hope things get better." Like $30,000. That's crazy. We don't hear about that stuff. We just like to pick on the stuff that we hear. And it's usually when the mass media, the mainstream media pitches it out, it's all, if it bleeds, it leads. It's all shitty stuff. So when you watch this, like when you're watching this Eddie Murphy documentary, kind of look at it outside of just a couple hours of entertainment. Look at it in kind of a broader scope of there's a guy that set his mind to something at a young age, came from a family that had a mother and a father figure that were instrumental in the upbringing of Eddie Murphy and his siblings. He then gets the opportunity in which he works for to get on to Saturday Night Live, and the rest is history. Then he takes it upon himself to say, I need to take a step back from all this fortune and fame because it's not fulfilling what I need in my life. I want to have a family. Whether he does it the way you want him to do it or not doesn't matter. All those kids are taken care of and have been taken care of. I mean, they're adults now, but they have all been taken care of very, very well. And the women in his life have all been taken care of. He's been a man and dealt with his responsibilities. And now at the age that he's at, he's like, you know what? I think it's time for me to come back. I'm sure Netflix threw him a ton of money, but it's brilliant. You see this with a lot of actors that have taken a break and Netflix is like, hey, let's redo it. Adam Sandler, not that he's taken a break, but let's do a Happy Gilmore 2. It was actually pretty good. Will it ever be as good as the first one or as popular? No, of course not. But it is what it is. So anyway, when you watch it in that way, like watch it and go, good for him, man. Good for Eddie Murphy. That's cool. I grew up with him, because we all have stories like, it was taboo to listen to some of the stuff in his comedy, right?
Oh, yeah.
I had to sneak watching Delirious and Raw.
Yeah, they talked about dicks and sex.
It was just cussing. I mean, cussing.
Lots of cussing.
Think about this. Kids cuss all the time now. I mean, they cuss openly and publicly on the internet and stuff. It blows my mind. People cuss out in public all the time. I grew up where you did not cuss. Like you can cuss with your friends, but you never cussed in front of an adult. And you never wanted that adult to know that you've cussed, right? I mean, that's like going back to third grade and little Susie goes up to Miss Eshelman, and says, Jason used the B word. Did you use the B word, Jason? No, yes, you did. There was she would just read you. There was no court due process. It was a read from the teacher. Whether she was right or wrong doesn't matter. That was the law. No, I didn't use the B word, Miss Eshelman. Go to the office and tell them you used the B word. 1 week of detention. That was the consequence of using a cuss word back in the day. Now, you got kids that go on social media or online playing Call of Duty, dropping the N-word 1,000,000 times over, and dropping the F-bomb and all kinds of stuff openly and publicly. And you're going, where are these kids' parents?
Watching Delirious.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're sitting there next to them saying the same stuff, probably. It's crazy. I think moving forward, the future, the cuss words will be so just like everyday language. We're just so desensitized to cuss words. I used to use cuss words publicly as an adult in a conversation loudly, strategically, in order to get people's attention and to change the dynamic of a situation.
That's a Tony Robbins mindset.
Yeah.
Use them for emphasis.
Correct.
Yeah.
I learned early in my career that when you're on stage in front of a microphone, the more you use the F word, the dumber, stupider you look.
Yep.
Right? You have to use it strategically.
Yep.
And so I would do that even if I weren't on stage. I'd, use it openly. People would turn around and just to get people's attention and stuff. Dude, now it's crazy. And I've actually gone up to people and said, hey, excuse me, do you mind? I had a situation. I remember this. This was years ago. Jungle gyms. I think we're
at your kids there.
No. This is when I didn't have any kids.
Okay.
This is when I was dating the first girl I ever lived with. So this would have been early 2000s. This was probably right before Jungle Gyms was taken out from downtown Orlando. We used to have one. You remember the Hooters, Jungle Gyms up top.
Church Street.
Yeah, Church Street. And we're there, and I was with my mom, which was a rare occasion. We were with her and her family, and it was a big group of us. And it was right after something. We were celebrating something, and we were in this back room, and there was only 2 tables. There was our big, large party tables, our table, and then there was another table of, I want to say college kids or kids around our age or something like that. I mean, early 20s. Anyway, and they were F-bombing. And I was with my mother. So I felt uncomfortable because I grew up knowing that you don't cuss in front of adults. Now, granted, I'm an adult now, but still the adult is always the more adult than your adults when they're the original OG adults. You know what I mean? So I walked over to the table and I slouched down to what looked like the table leader.
The ringleader of the bunch.
The ringleader of the Jungle Gyms table at the bunch. And I said, hey, dude, I know you're having a good time having drinks. I'm over there with my family and stuff. We're having a good time. I said, you guys are really loud, dropping your F-bombs and cuss words. I get it, dude. You guys are just having a good time. I'm just asking for a favor because I am with my mom and it makes her uncomfortable. If you don't mind, please, just maybe just tone down a little bit. Just asking nicely, please. That's how I put it. He was taken back by me asking him that. He was a little defensive, and a couple of his buddies at the table, I could hear him talking under their voice because they weren't talking to me, so they had the tough guy mentality where you're not talking to me, talk shit. So I was like, thanks, man. He goes, yeah, we'll do our best. Okay. It was kind of like a backhanded dick kind of comment. So I walk back over and they're still doing it. And I look over and get up and I walk back over and I said, hey man, it doesn't even look like you tried. I go, what's the problem here? Let's not make this a thing. There's 10, 12 people at this table, probably 7 guys, but I felt that I was I would have got my ass kicked 6 ways to Sunday. But I felt justified by doing this, this was a big boy adult moment for me to walk over to this table. And I walk over, again, and I said, he's like, man, look, this is our table. We're having a good time. We're out. I was like, well, here's the next step. I was like, I can go to them. I can complain and we can go through that whole thing. And I don't want to go through that thing. It was like just two dudes trying to have some good times. I'm with my family. You're with your friends. Just asking you to stop cussing so much. That's all I'm asking, man. It's like, you don't have to go there. Yeah, we'll see what we can do. They go back over. They're cussing again. And like even louder this time. Like now it's like turned into a thing. But I could tell
contest.
Yeah, but I could tell the dude that I talked to wasn't a part of what the other guys were doing. So now I've gone over to this table twice. I'm early 20s with my mom and with my girlfriend and her parents at the time. They've been cussing up a storm. It's not right to do it in that environment, especially in front of your elders. That's how I grew up. And I've complained to these people twice about cussing. And I've done it nicely. I think I've done it extremely nicely. So I got up and I was pissed. And I just screamed over the table, stop fucking cussing.
That got your point across.
They stopped.
That's funny. You confuse the ever living hell out of them. Wait, did he just that's awesome.
All right. Look, appreciate you listening to the Free Bay episode. Please subscribe. Go to jasonbailey.com, the BPX. There's 3 different shows, 5 days a week. We just have some cool conversations. We hope that you can hang out with us. I love it. Over the past couple of weeks, there's been more back and forth on social media with commenting on different things. So I appreciate that, whether it's on the Spotify comments or on any of the socials in which you can get on jasonbailey.com. There's merch available. We got the new BS Vinyl Honey Warhol edition that Ben has put together. Really cool merch that he worked very hard on. So again, looking for some Christmas prizes. Our merch shop usually has deals every once in a while. You just got to keep checking. Sometimes there's like 50% off the shirts and the merchandise, but there's hoodies and hats and mugs and tote bags and all pillows and all kinds of stuff, kids shirts that you can get in the merch store. Our email subscriber list, Ben does a really good job of putting that email together. And really what it is we're just sending out maybe stuff that you miss throughout the week. So we'll send you out links to the free shows, some information regarding the BPX and what we, stuff like that. So you're just a part of it.
And a nice explanation on some of the sponsor stuff too. Some of the listeners don't know how they can benefit from our sponsors, and we want to share that.
Yeah. So we've got some, great sponsors, of course. So the sponsor information is in the newsletter, but also, we'll highlight a sponsor each newsletter. So again, and if that's a business and you're looking to, get your brand out there, that's just an extra added bonus that we offer. So it's not just like traditional radio or you have the commercials and the episodes. It's more than that. You have the newsletter and the website and the social media and all that kind of stuff. So jasonbailey.com is your home base for all that good stuff. All right, Ben, you got anything before we get out?
What kind of bear has no teeth?
What kind of bear has no teeth? I don't know.
It's a gummy bear.
Gummy bear, some bitch. All right.
Yeah.
I got to get a laugh one in here. All right, look, have yourself a great, safe rest of your day. If you're going to be doing some drinking, I understand. I get it. If you've had too much, please don't get behind the wheel of a car. I've lost way too many friends like that. And sure as shit, don't be posting stuff on social media or you will lose way too many friends like that. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Hey, bye.
Hey, good looking. It's the Bailey Show podcast. jasonbailey.com. It's a website.
Okay, this episode's over. Goodbye. 3 different shows, 5 days a week, 1 feed, details, and to subscribe, jasonbailey.com.